Hey boys and girls, it's Miss Lisa, the art teacher. Welcome back to my table of art. Last time we were together, if you remember, we made this, beautiful sunset of the Caribbean island, Puerto Rico. We created all the little buildings you might see on the island. We made our 3 bands of color in our landscape, our ocean, our land, and our beautiful sky. And we made this for a reason, if you can remember. We made it because this is the island of Puerto Rico. And this is the only island in the Caribbean or throughout the entire world that this beautiful parrot, the Puerto Rican parrot, lives. So by us creating this habitat last time we were together, we're now going to create our own Puerto Rican parrot. And as you can see, the Puerto Rican parrot comes in blue and green. Yes, there's many other parrots in many different colors, but the Puerto Rican parrot is only blue and green. So we're going to build him today, create him I should say, and place him on top of our beautiful Caribbean sunset. And we're going to create the illusion of a sense of space by having him close to us and having his landscape of the island far back. But before we start building or creating our parrot, I just want to tell you a little bit about this parrot that flies over Puerto Rico. Hundreds and hundreds of years ago, the Caribbean island of Puerto Rico used to have hundreds of thousands of these Puerto Rican parrots on the island. Hundreds of thousands. Well, that was until people found the island and they just started destroying everything. They started knocking down the trees. They started killing the birds for food. They started keeping the birds for pets. And little by little, the island parrots became almost extinct. Sorry. Meaning no more left. There was only 30 left when scientists came in working with conservationists to create different kinds of nesting boxes for our parrots to keep them safe from the hawks. Again, hawks were never on this island before, but as people started journeying over to this island, they brought with them other animals, rats from the ships. The rats would go up to the nest and eat the eggs. A lot of horrible things happened. We almost lost these beautiful parrots, the Puerto Rican parrots. But thank goodness for these scientists and conservationists that stepped in many, many years later when it was almost distinct. Boy, that's terrible. I can't remember that word. Okay. I'm sorry, guys. And they raised these parrots. They took care of these parrots. They created all kinds of homes for these parrots. And the craziest thing, you're not going to believe this, they trained these parrots to beware of the hawks that preyed on them. They knew now what to do and how to hide from these hawks when they were out in the open. They knew what to do. They knew how to protect themselves because these scientists and conservationists trained them. That's mind-blowing to me. They trained the parrots how to be safe from the hawks. So little by little, our Puerto Rican parrots started growing and growing and growing. We're nowhere near the hundreds of thousands that there used to be, but we are getting more and more Puerto Rican parrots back onto the island of Puerto Rico. So we say thank you to those scientists and conservationists that have saved this species from becoming extinct. Extinct! That's the word! Extinct! Sometimes the mind goes. Okay, so there's one more thing I want to tell you. Do you know what these birds sound like out in the forest? Iguaca! 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 That's the sound they make when they call to each other. Iguaca! Iguaca! So remember that word. Iguaca. Yes, I think Miss Lisa is losing it, but that's okay. I'm having fun. So come on down to my table. I'm going to show you all the goodies you're going to get, okay? All right, now what I'm going to be sending everybody is I'm going to send you a shape that looks very similar to a bottle. That's going to be the parrot's body. I'm going to send you 2 halves of a paper plate. They're going to become our parrot's wings. You're also going to get 2 blue feathers to give a little texture to your wings. You're going to get a little eyeball. You're going to get a little piece of red crepe paper because there's a spot right above the parrot's beak that has this little red ball. And you're each going to get this card. And on this card, you're going to need a marker, a yellow marker, and you're going to color in the legs yellow, and you're going to color in the 2 side pieces green because they will become the 2 little wings on the bottom and this little fluffy fluff of hair up on the top. And we're going to create that by cutting it with scissors to giving it the illusion of feathers. And you see how the beak is yellow and his feet are yellow. So for this project, you need to have some glue, whether it's liquid glue or a glue stick. Liquid glue I think would work best. I would like you to have crayons. If you have only crayons, try to find a dark green and a light green and a dark blue and a light blue. If you have crayons and markers, blue and green. We're using blue and green because those are the colors of the Puerto Rican parrot, blue and green. So what we're going to do is we're going to start little by little. We're going to start with our parrot's wings. So I'm going to put the body aside and his little legs aside, and we're going to start with the wings. The outside of the wings, which will be the curved part of our small paper plates, will be green, and the inside is going to be blue. And we're going to try to make it as beautiful as the actual parrots are. So if you have a crayon, a dark green and a light green, I'm going to use a piece of paper to tell the difference on mine. This is my dark green and this is my lighter green. Okay? I'm going to use the dark green to create what looks like maybe textured feathers. You see how I'm going zigzagging up and down with my dark green crayon to create that illusion of texture on the wing. Then I'm going to take my light green and I'm either going to color it straight on, or I might even do a color crayon rub. And the way we would do a rub is I would peel the paper off of some of the crayon. I like to break off a little piece, leave it flat, and rub back and forth. So I could still see the dark green behind and the light green going over the dark green. So I have that illusion of texture on my wings, but still the beautiful green color of the Puerto Rican parrot. Iguaca! Iguaca! Now if you have a marker, you could use the marker for the texture. See how I'm using that as texture? I have a dark green marker. But with the dark green or with a marker, I just have to make sure that it's dry before I run over it with a crayon, because it's probably going to smear. So here's my light green crayon. Oh, it's dry. And now I'm going to color over that using my crayon rub technique. So the out edges of my wings are green. The Puerto Rican parrot is beautiful green and blue. And sometimes if you're on the island of Puerto Rico and you're lucky enough to look up and get a glance of that beautiful blue flash past you, know that it was the Puerto Rican parrot. Alright, so now I have the center of my wings, and I want to make them that beautiful blue. So I have two blue crayons. I have a light blue and a dark blue. This is my dark blue, and there, that's my light blue. So again, I'm going to create an illusion of texture. So the texture, I'll do the same thing. I'll make like a zigzag. Same idea of texture, illusion of texture and feathers. So those are my blue, and if I had the marker, it would have been the same. It's equally as dark. I forgot to do that, just to show you, okay? So now I have the illusion of dark blue feathers on my two wings. And I'm going to take my light blue, which I already peeled the paper back, and I'm going to use the crayon rub and rub the inside center of my wing. Here's the first one, and here's the second one. So I added a little more marker on this side than I did on that side. So remember I said you were all getting feathers? So we're going to take our blue feathers and we're going to glue them onto our wings as well. So we got to think that one wing will be on one side of our bird and one wing will be on the other side. So we want to make sure they're going in the right direction. We have the pretty end of the feather facing out of the bird's body. Same for both sides. I think I've got the under here. Let's turn this over. Flip sides. There we go. It's the better side of the feather. So for this, I'm going to use my liquid glue, and I'm just going to glue a little, squeeze a little bit of glue on the bottom edge of the blue feathered colored area, and run a little string up right across that, and just place my feather right on top. And it's stuck already. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other wing. One string of glue right across. Make sure to close your glue so it doesn't dry out. And I just place the blue feather right on top. I'm going to put these aside to let them dry while we make the body. I'm running out of space over here. Okay, so let's get our body out. There's a lot of parts to this body. We've already made the wings. We've got an eyeball. And, oh, I've colored on it. Now, what we have here are the legs and the beak. So let's take our yellow marker and color them in. If you don't have a yellow marker, a crayon won't work because this is a shiny photo paper. And it glides right over with the marker. But if you tried it with a crayon, you may have to cut it out first and then color the back side with the crayon, because the crayon will adhere to the back side, okay? But it really has a nice look with the marker on here. So I have my 2 feet, the 2 legs of the, whatever the claws of the parrot, and his beak. This part here is going to be his hair on the top of his head. So I'm going to color that with my green marker. Again, if you don't have a marker, you'll have to turn it over after you cut it out and use a crayon to color it in. Here I have 2 wings that are going to come down at the bottom of his body. So I'm going to create the illusion of texture here with this wing. I'm going to see what happens if I can color over this with a crayon. One side I made thicker than the other. You got to be careful how you hold your marker, the thin side or the fat side. Let's see what happens if I try to color over that with a crayon. Not too bad. I guess you can use a crayon then. Yep, you can use a crayon. It works. So I'm using my crayon right on top of that. That's done. So now we're going to need to cut this out. These are parts of the bird. So let's get our scissor and let's cut the pieces and parts out of our bird. I like this photo paper because it has a nice thickness to it. And it's nice and shiny, and it's great for markers. Markers go on really nice on this photo paper. Cut the whole thing. You see how I made a whole section here? And you'll see why in a moment, okay? Actually, see, it's my fault, so you'll get confused. We should have just colored the whole thing. Color it right to the end. Okay, see that? So you don't get confused. And you're going to see why I did that. And you're going to say, oh, Miss Lisa, that was a good idea. Here we go. So what did the sound of the Puerto Rican parrot make? Does anybody remember? You guys don't remember the sound that the Puerto Rican parrot makes? Iguaca! 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 That's the sound they make when they're calling each other. Iguaca! What kind of sound do you make when you're calling your friends? Hello? Hey, it's me. Hello? Well, the Puerto Rican parrot says, Iguaca! 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 Why don't you try it with me? Iguaca. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Everybody yell, Iguaca! Iguaca! That's perfect. Very good. Want to try it one more time? Let's call to each other like the parrots do. Ready? Go. Iguaca! Iguaca! And that's the sound of the Puerto Rican parrot. But can you believe that they only live in Puerto Rico? You would never find this parrot anywhere else. Ever. And now they're in the rainforest, building families, building their species back from what all the people destroyed. Very sad. Okay, now we have all the parts ready to rumble. And now we want to finish the body. So either you can use your dark crayon and your light crayon, or your dark marker and your light crayon. And I like the way the marker looks, so I'm going to start at the top of the head and just make some wavy lines there. See how I did that? Just made some upside down U's. Now for the body, I'm going to go in the opposite direction. I want to give the texture of feathers on the body of the parrot. There we go. Now to color him in, take your crayon, use a crayon rub, make it nice and easy, don't make it complicated, and just rub the body of the parrot. Look how beautiful. Almost as beautiful as the real thing. Iguaca! Okay, so now we have the whole body. So remember I said, you're going to know why I said to do this whole piece? Now you're going to see why. We're going to start gluing everything on. So, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put glue on this square. Don't need a lot, just a little bit, because these are the bird's little feeties. I'm just going to place that right on top. And look at that. How smart was that, Miss Lisa? Very smart, Miss Lisa. Well, thank you. And we're going to do the same thing with his beak. Okay? So we'll put a little glue on this part that I made extra. Lift him up, stick it under, and voila, you've got a beak. Pretty good, huh? Now these guys, they go out like that underneath him. There's not a lot of extra space, but that's okay. So we just have to put a strip of glue right at the edge of that feather. Stick it underneath his body and glue. And we'll do the same thing right here. One line of glue. Stick it under his body. Press down. Okay. Now this piece here, before we glue it onto his head, if you can, we want to take a scissor and we want to cut strips, tiny strips, really close together with a scissor. And if you cannot do this, have somebody do this for you. So I have all these little cuts in here, and I want to take a pencil or something round, and I want to curl the paper around the pencil to give it a little bit of a softer look and a curving look. Okay, see how I made that curl with the pencil? And that's the same effect. We're going to stick it underneath his head after we put some glue on here. Okay, so glue this, place it right under the bird's head and press down. So now we have that fuzzy top of his hair, his beak, his two little wings, and his claws. What do we need now? We need his eyeball. You're all going to get a googly eye. Where do you want to stick his eye? Closer to that beak? Well, I'll tell you what, before we do that, let's get that little red piece of paper, crepe paper, and let's roll it up in a tight ball. Because the parrot has this little thing right at the tip of his beak. It's a red ball. It's just something that he's born with. So we're going to add that before we add our eyeball and glue that down. There you go. Perfect. So I think I'll put his eyeball right there. So again, we'll get our glue out. Not everybody's going to get a green eyeball, by the way, but you will get an eye. I just happened to grab a green one. That was pretty lucky because he's green. Blue would be pretty lucky too. Okay, so we have everything ready. And now for the grand finale. We add his beautiful wings. 1 and 2. Look how beautiful! Okay, so right on the edge of our paper plate, we are going to put a line of glue. Right up. Oh, this is different glue. Come out, wherever you are. Okay, that's not coming out too easy. So I'm going to use my other glue, which you can't see because it's clear. Can you believe it? And we're going to make a line right on the edge of the paper plate for both paper plates. Just a little bit. See how I'm right? Just about 3 fingers worth. Close up the glue. Put them the way you want to position them. How far open you want his wings to go. Place your parrot right on top and press. Press down until the bird touches the wings. Look, see how I have it? See how his wings are coming up? We want that. We want those wings to come up. Now, the problem is we got to hold this. So either you hold it or you find something as a weight to hold it down. Because we want those wings to pop up. It gives that great illusion that our beautiful Puerto Rican parrot is flying away. Okay? So I'm going to grab my glue and stick it right there. And I'm going to let it dry. So while that's drying, you just sit tight and I'll be back. All right, everyone, our iguaca is ready to fly home. Iguaca! Iguaca! Our Puerto Rican parrot. So let's get out our beautiful Caribbean sunset. You can mount yours on paper. I've placed mine there. I've got to glue a little bit better on my edges. Now we're going to decide how we want to place our bird into our sunset. I think I'll put him a little higher in the sky so I could see my buildings, the water, the sunset over a little bit more. There we go. That's where I want to put mine. Okay, so I'm going to take some of my glue and I'm going to glue the bottom part of the wings because those are the parts that are going to touch my sunset because they pop out and they're going to lay flat on the sunset. The rest of this area won't lay flat because it doesn't pop up like this part of the plate does. So I put my glue right here and here. And I'm going to turn it upside down and put them right onto the sunset. Press a little bit. See how our wings come out? Let that dry. I'm going to bring you up to the camera here on the back. And look at that. How beautiful. Ah! He's not dry yet. I'm rushing it because I want you to see how beautiful it's going to look. So I'm going to hold it in place so you can see how beautiful your Puerto Rican parrot sits in the sunset of the Caribbean island. Iguaca! Iguaca! Remember that sound. It's the Puerto Rican parrot. Okay. All right, boys and girls. This is Miss Lisa, your art teacher, saying, Iguaca! Ciao for now from my table of art. Until we meet again, stay well, be kind, and I miss you. See you soon.